Hey guys, it's Eric at Solution Prep. The new student loan rates are out for the 2025-2026 school year, and it's a mixed bag. In this video, I'll break down both what we're sure of for this coming year and what may be changing soon. First, federal student and parent loans are based on a simple equation after the 10-year Treasury note auction every May. They just take that snapshot and add 2.05% to the direct student loan and 4.6% for the Parent Plus loan. So for the 2025-2026 school year, the direct or Stafford loan will be 6.39%, down just slightly from the prior year's 6.53%. And that's the rate for both the subsidized and unsubsidized direct student loan. The difference between those two being that for the subsidized student loan, there are no payments due until 6 months after college, whereas the unsubsidized loan, students are responsible only for paying their monthly interest during college and for 6 months thereafter. And while your loan administrator and even the Department of Education may tell you that you can defer that interest until after college, essentially putting it on your tab, it's very important to understand that if you do that, the interest you owe will compound. That's called capitalizing debt during those years. And in the end, you'll wind up owing more than you borrowed. So definitely plan to pay the interest as you go to save money down the line. In either case, once those 6 months are up, payments begin with both interest and principal after college. They haven't announced the official fee yet, but it's been 1.057% for the last 5 years, and even before then it was within a few thousandths of a point, so we don't expect that to change or change by much. And that fee will be packed into the loan, meaning for every $1,000 you borrow, the college will receive $989.43, but you'll owe the full $1,000. For dependent students, meaning you're dependent on one or more parent, you're under the age of 24, not married, have no dependents of your own, are not enlisted in the military, the most you can borrow is $5,500 for your first year of college. Based on your need, as determined by filling out your FAFSA, up to $3,500 of that may be subsidized. But the difference between the total $5,500 and any portion of the $3,500, all some or none, you may be offered subsidized, will be available to you unsubsidized. So your first $5,500 for that first year may include up to $3,500 subsidized loan and $2,000 or whatever's left to make up the difference in unsubsidized loan. This is typically broken down by term. So for a 2-semester school year, for instance, you'll be offered half in the first fall semester and half in the second or spring semester. And you can choose not to take it or take less of it for a semester, but you can't roll anything you didn't use one semester into a future semester. It's use it or lose it. For your second year of college, you'll be offered an extra $1,000. That's $6,500 maximum, up to $4,500 of which may be subsidized based on need as determined by filling out your FAFSA. And for your third and fourth years of college, it'll be another $1,000 more, a $7,500 maximum, up to $5,500 of which may be subsidized. And if it takes more than 4 years to graduate college, there's another $4,000 available in year 5 for a total of $31,000 if needed, up to $23,000 of which may be subsidized based on your need as determined by filling out the FAFSA for each and every year of college. For independent students, it's a little different. Those are age 24 or older, or who are married or claim dependents of their own, or who are enlisted in the military full-time. They can borrow more, $9,500 the first year, $10,500 for the second year, and $12,500 for years 3 and 4. But the available subsidized amounts won't change. So it just means an extra $4,000 or $5,000 a year in unsubsidized loans. And then there's an extra $12,500 in unsubsidized loans for year 5 if needed, for a total of $57,500. Next is the Direct Plus loan, often called the Parent Plus loan. For the 2025-2026 school year, that'll be a very high 8.94%, though down just slightly from the prior year's 9.08%. For the past 5 years, the fee on that has been a whopping 4.228%, which again, we don't expect to change or to change by much, though we still await the official announcement at the time of this recording. That fee is also packed into the loan. And this can be borrowed up to the official federally recognized cost of attendance of your college after applying all grants and scholarships and after the student maxes out the direct student loan. That means if you have any bill left over, the Plus loan can cover it, and there's no prepayment penalty, so the sooner you pay it off, the less you'll pay in interest in the long run. Finally, I'm in New Jersey, and most of my students are too. So let's talk about the NJ Class Loan. It's available in 3 terms, 10-year, 15-year, and 20-year. And just like a mortgage, the longer the term, the higher the rate. But these rates are up significantly from last year. The 10-year loan is available at 6.50%, up from 5.99% last year, with immediate repayment during college years. The 15-year will now be 7.99%, up a whole point from last year's 6.99%, and you can just pay interest while you're in school so the interest doesn't compound. And the 20-year loan is now 8.75%, up from last year's 7.99%. I don't recommend taking this out because it includes full payment deferral while in school, which means the interest will compound and you will pay a lot more than you borrowed. The 10 and 15-year options have payments due 45 days after disbursement, while the 20-year is 45 days after graduation, or if your student is not enrolled in a fall or spring semester, so stay in school, kids. The good news is there are no fees for this loan. So what you see is what you get. And again, this can be borrowed up to the cost of attending after the student takes out the maximum direct student loan. However, unlike the Parent Plus loan, you'll need a 670 credit score and at least $40,000 in annual income to be eligible for this, which means that teenage students almost certainly won't be. So in a practical sense, it's just for the parents. However, unlike other New Jersey aid that may restrict access to students going to college in New Jersey, parents can borrow the NJ Class loan for a student to attend just about any college in America. Again, there are no prepayment penalties, so paying it off faster will save you money, and you can save 1/4 of a point off the 10-year loan with autopay. Hey, it's something. You'll need an NJ FAMS account at HESA.org to borrow this state loan, whereas the federal loans coordinate between your college's financial aid office and your studentaid.gov account. Now, we have to talk about what changes may be coming down the pike. At the time of this recording, Congress is currently debating the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which is over 1,000 pages long. In it, there's a 5-page fact sheet about changes to how student aid will work moving forward. We don't know what might be negotiated out in the Senate before going to a floor vote, or even if it will pass, but I've read through the document, and if it passes as is, here are the highlights of potential changes to loans in the future. The subsidized student loan, where students pay no interest during college, will be terminated, effective July 1st, 2026. However, there's a 3-year exception, like a grace period, for students who are already getting access to that prior to that date. That means today's high school seniors in the class of 2025 entering college this fall will still have access to that for all 4 years of college if they have it now, but not if college takes longer. However, current juniors in the high school class of 26 would not have access to the subsidized loan at all, nor would the younger students behind them. It also caps the maximum direct student loan at $50,000, which won't affect dependent students who already have a max below that, but would reduce the 5th year for independent students. The biggest change to loans is that the Parent Plus loan would have a $50,000 aggregate limit over all 4 years of college. So if right now you have an $80,000 bill and your student gets $30,000 in loans, scholarships, and grants, you can borrow the full $50,000 that you owe all 4 years. But if this change goes into effect, borrowing $50,000 the first year maxes out your Parent Plus loan. You won't get another dime for future years. However, again, the same 3-year exception. So today's high school seniors are fine for all 4 years of college, but this could have a drastic impact on younger students. It won't affect my students as much because most of them will have access to the NJ Class loan anyway, but there are 49 other states out there, and a lot of other families could be affected. Lastly, loan forgiveness will get a big overhaul. At present, students need to make 20 years of on-time payments before any remaining balance is forgiven, but this new bill would change that to 30 years, and that would be effective July 1st, 2026 with no exceptions. Borrowers already in repayment will be transferred over to this new program as their old programs are terminated. An important bit of context to this change is that in a Sallie Mae study last year, 80% of college students expected some or all of their loans to be forgiven. And folks, that's just highly unlikely to be the case. Sure, the pendulum swings, and what one administration does or what one Congress does, the next can reverse or undo. But if you borrow the money, expect to pay it back. Now, listen, this is a lot to digest, and I didn't even get into graduate loans or, exemptions during med school or changes coming to borrowers experiencing economic hardships or who are in deferment or how the Pell Grant's going to change. But I tell you guys every year that elections have consequences and different administrations have different priorities. So here we are experiencing them, for better or worse, however you view it. So read all the fine print, especially for private loans, which may have low introductory rates that balloon or become variable later. Borrow responsibly. I would advise as little as you need, as late as you can afford to. And if you have more questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us at 732-556-8220. We are here to help.